Hi, I'm Tim Tyler, and this is a video about doom. This video attempts to understand doom as a natural phenomenon. Doom is probably the most unsuccessful prediction of all time. Doom predictions date back thousands of years, and so far all of the ones that have been tested have been proven to be wrong. When people make the same mistake over and over again, there's probably a reason for it, and this video offers a hypothesis about what that is like to be in this instance. The unsuccessful doom predictions are all documented on a website entitled The Millennium and End of the World Prophecies, and there's literally hundreds of failed predictions of the end of the world. Doom is an ancient phenomenon. It's a prominent feature of most of the world's major religions as well. There's doom in Christianity in the form of Armageddon, the final battle between God and Satan in the New Testament, and also in the form of the Last Judgment, the judgment by God of every human who ever lived. There's doom in the Quran. In there it says, when the horn is blown once, the earth and the mountains will be carried off and crushed, utterly crushed. There's doom in Hinduism. Most Hindus believe that Shiva will destroy the world at the end of the Kalpa. Doom enthusiasts argue that even if the end of the world is unlikely, we should be interested in scenarios involving it, since the outcome is extremely bad, and so even with a small probability, it should be given considerable weight. This is the same logic used in Pascal's wager, which was a suggestion posed by the French philosopher Blaise Pascal that even though the existence of God cannot be determined through reason, a person should wager as though God exists, because by doing so they could gain eternal bliss and avoid damnation, and they would have very little or nothing to lose. What about all the failed predictions of the end of the world in the past? Apparently, these count for nothing. After all, we can hardly expect to witness a previous successful prediction of the end of the world. If the end of the world was actually likely, then an anthropic argument suggests that we would see multiple large historical disasters. Many doom enthusiasts recognise this and point to the 1918 flu epidemic, Chernobyl, the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the use of nuclear weapons in Japan as supporting evidence. It seems to me that the evidence is weak. Those events are a very, very long way away from the end of the world. What about the Doomsday Clock, run by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists at the University of Chicago? That clock symbolically represents the probability of doom soon. Doesn't that clock indicate that doom is likely? The atomic scientists in Chicago appear to have built one of the worst, most unreliable clocks ever. Would you trust this clock to tell you when it was midnight? The clock is nonsense. The clock metaphor succeeds in conveying the idea of doom soon, while conveniently disguising the fact that these predictions are uncalibrated and therefore of no practical use. All the clock indicates is the desire of the atomic scientists at the University of Chicago to harness doom to market their bulletin. In that, they have been quite successful. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists is now known most widely as the organisation that runs the Doomsday Clock. On their website, the number of minutes to midnight is displayed in the title of their homepage before the name of their organisation. They've become merchants of doom. Humans are a spectacularly successful species. There are over 6 billion of them. They dominate the planet like no other mammal has ever done before them, and resources are abundant, while the planet's orbit is peaceful and undisturbed. Consequently, doom appears to be highly unlikely. This, in conjunction with the prevalence of the end-of-the-world cults, strongly suggests that we should be looking for a sociological explanation for this phenomenon. Warning others about danger is usually good and can often have a positive effect on your reputation. The worse the danger is, the better it is to warn people about it. This leads to the phenomenon of the end is nigh placards. Doom acts as a superstimulus. People are naturally inclined to warn others about dangers, and since doom represents the deaths of you, your relatives, friends and loved ones, it acts as a powerful stimulus for people's warning mechanisms, and people who are naturally inclined to warning others find it irresistible. The probability of doom might be small, but people deal with small probabilities poorly, and are often more interested in the features of scenarios that make for good narratives. The phenomenon of attempting to attract attention or gain status by warning others of manufactured dangers is known to psychologists as a crying wolf. False warnings are not treated with much respect, but it's often possible for doom enthusiasts to avoid this problem by pushing the doom off to an unspecified point in the future. Here is Martin Rees, for example. This is from his book Our Final Century. I think that the odds are no better than 50-50 that our present civilization on Earth will survive to the end of the present century without a serious setback. Vague predictions that happen after you're dead are unlikely to tarnish anyone's reputation in a way that they actually care about. Many of the same people who think that the end is nigh also want to save the world, or help save it, and this is another tradition with a grand history. Saving the world is popular because people like to feel as though they have a purpose in life, and what could be a finer or nobler purpose than saving the world? Of course, in order to save the world, it has to first be at risk, so these prospective saviours of the world naturally go on to become prophets of doom. Those who feel they can't save the world themselves try and affiliate with those who feel they can. Of course, saving the world is a big job, and one of the best ways you can contribute is to get more eyes on the problem. And so, doom acts as a contagious mind virus. The people who have been alerted to the imminent doom go on to warn others. After all, what could be more important than the end of the world? People are encouraged to tell their friends and family, and to recruit others to the cause. Lastly, doom sells. These days, plenty of people have got rich by selling doom. There are doom movies, doom books, and doom documentaries. Whole organisations exist whose purpose it is to raise the alarm about the doom, and some of these organisations have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for their causes. The bias towards unrealistically high estimates of the probability of doom would not be particularly important, except that doom obsessions waste people's time and resources and can have other harmful effects on them, including causing them to fail to plan in the long term and neglect other aspects of their lives. Doom can lead to learned helplessness and to despair. This is not to say that we should not study the possibility of the world ending, but I think that any such attempt should be self-conscious about doom's well-documented virulent nature, and should thus employ appropriate safeguards against the doom infection spreading beyond the confines of the laboratory. You won't hear much about this from the doom-mongers themselves. The historical context of their effort would generate doom doubts and distract people from the doom message. After all, that's surely the most important thing, since if we don't all pull together to avert the coming apocalypse, it might mean the end of the world as we know it. Yeah, right. Enjoy.